Hello, Huskies. Lunch is usually one of our favorite times of day, as we get a break from class and get to spend some time with friends. That being said, as with most things in such a big school like ours, there are a lot of moving pieces that occur during lunch, and it's important to have clear expectations in order to continue to make this a safe, productive, and enjoyable time for all of us. As a staff, we recently established and approved some clear expectations for both students and staff as what it means to exhibit Husky pride during our lunch period, and we're here to share those with y'all. First, let's start with our student expectations. Students are to be in the cafeteria or in an approved designated lunch area once the lunch period has begun. Let's start with a note for our 9th graders. Freshmen and only freshmen must eat in the freshman cafeteria. We strongly encourage all students to eat their lunch in the cafeteria. However, in the main building, we have a few other options as designated lunch areas that will also be supervised. One of those spaces is the intersection outside the cafeteria, which we call the T. This is a wide section of the East Hall that dead ends into the area near the entrance to the cafeteria. Another space is the library when it is open and available. The library should serve as a quieter space for students that want to study, read, or use other library resources like their puzzles and games. Chairs in there also need to stay with their assigned tables so that if you have a group larger than 6 students, you should plan to eat in the cafeteria or in the T. Eating in the library is a privilege that can be revoked if you are not respectful of their rules. Finally, when the weather is nice, students may be permitted to eat in the designated areas outside. The main cafeteria has a small patio with a few tables, and a similar space may be created outside the freshman cafeteria in the future. Students will have 10 minutes to get food and choose where to eat, but after that, aside from bathroom use, students are to stay in the designated area for the entirety of lunch. Students are not to be roaming the hallways or congregating in stairwells. You should also take note that the parking lot is not an approved lunch area, so you shouldn't be going out there to eat in a car. If cleared with the teacher in advance and the teacher adds the student to the advisory spreadsheet, students are allowed to go to a teacher's classroom for help with classwork, but the rules from above still apply. Juniors and seniors are allowed to leave campus for lunch, but will need to show their IDs to the parking lot attendants that are working the gate. If you go off campus for lunch, you need to leave promptly at the beginning of lunch to give yourself adequate time. If you return before the passing period, please wait at the entrance you're returning through or head to the T and wait for lunch to be dismissed. This helps us to minimize distractions and regulate the hallways. We also have some policies for students who are eating at the school but want food from off campus. Delivery services are not allowed to bring food to the school, so don't try placing orders through Postmates, Uber Eats, etc. If you have a family member or someone that wants to bring you food one day, it is allowed, but they have to hand the food directly to you. We don't allow visitors to drop off food in the office with a note that it's supposed to be for you. Our final note for students is simply to be respectful of whatever space you choose to eat in. Clean up after yourself and be mindful of those around you to help ensure everyone has an enjoyable lunch period. Now, let's talk about our staff expectations. When possible, once the lunch period has started, staff should make an effort to make a quick sweep of their hallway or area and redirect students who have not arrived to their class or a designated lunch spot. Students should not be eating in random hallways, stairwells, or bathrooms where there is no supervision. Consider checking the bathroom nearest your area. Consider creating a rotation with other staff in your area to share responsibility for hallway or bathroom sweeps. And remind students of approved designated areas for lunch. If it's unknown, staff should ask students if they currently have lunch or have class at that moment and redirect or encourage them to head there at that time. When approaching students who are not in designated areas, consider redirecting with the following phrases. Are you meant to be at lunch or in class at this time? Is there a reason you're not in a designated lunch area at this time? If you have had to address the same student or groups of students more than 2 or 3 times about not being at a designated lunch area, or discipline issues arise from redirection, please follow up with administration with identifying information like names or hallways and time of day when interactions have occurred so they can follow up with repeat offenders. If you have agreed to help a student during your lunch period, you will need to add their name, parentheses, lunch, to the advisory spreadsheet for that day. Students should stay in your classroom until the end of lunch or be given a paper pass so they can return to a designated lunch area. Following through with these expectations will ensure that we provide a safe, productive, and enjoyable experience during lunch for all of us. We appreciate your participation and willingness as we work towards making Edmond North the best it can be.